Hello fellow FPL managers and welcome to this week's FPL video focusing on game week 26. We'll be looking at my game week 25 predictions, how my team performed, my transfers for the game week as well as the starting lineup. We'll finally be looking at who I think will be the best players to avoid, pick and take a risk on for game week 26. As you can tell, there's no camera this week and that's because it's Chinese New Year at the moment and I'm spending time with the wife's family, which means I've been able to put down what I want to say and do a bit of fact checking, but I can't record with the camera as I'm out the office. So looking at my game week 25 predictions, and it was a bit of a mixed bag. Aubameyang blanked and Arsenal were soundly beaten by City with Koscielny the Arsenal scorer, so I predicted that well. However, United prevailed, managing to keep it tight and claim a 1-0 win at Leicester. Hazard was my top pick and he picked up a cracking 15 points against struggling Huddersfield, along with Son's 11 against Newcastle. However, villain of the week, Sane picked up just 3 points in 2 games, being dropped for the first game against Arsenal and being taken off before the 60-minute mark against Everton. King blanked in an away game to Cardiff, as did Vardy against United. However, Higuain had a great game week, linking up well with Hazard to score 13 points. My team this week reads for another sorry tale, with the last 2 game weeks costing me over 200,000 places, and that man Sane again is the architect of my downfall. Last week Salah and Liverpool blanked and this week it was the same again, but Sane has just come back to haunt me. He was in my team at the start of the season when it looked like he was going to play because he missed the World Cup. But he didn't start the first 3 or 4 game weeks. I brought him back in. I kept him out even though he was on good form, and then I brought him back in finally, maybe about, I think it was about 7 game weeks ago. Kept him over Christmas, and then lo and behold, he screws up my double game week. And I know I'm not the only one. Before this double game week, he looked like a good choice for captaincy. He's got 2 games. He wasn't rotated out as much as other City players. My vice captain I went over was Hazard. He was my vice captain. But for me, that's it for City assets. It genuinely makes me enjoy the game so much less with the Pep Roulette situation. I don't want to be having 9.5 million plus players in my side that just get dropped on a whim. It just makes me apprehensive and anxious every coming game week. The fact that even Aguero now, he's just scored a hat-trick, and I know he didn't score yesterday, but he did play 2 games in a row. He doesn't seem to drop Aguero as much. But the fact that next week, Aguero could score 5 goals, and the week after he can get dropped. There is literally no player safe in this side, and for me it just makes it less enjoyable, and I'd just rather not have to deal with that kind of stress of having any City players that can get dropped at any moment. As for the rest of my team anyway, Hazard, Wan-Bissaka and the United duo of Rashford and Pogba saved me from ultimate humiliation, as Liverpool again once suffered a setback. Funnily enough, if you'd have told me 10 weeks ago that United assets would be helping me out, I would have laughed it off. But now I'm begging for that United train to keep on rolling. Moving on to this week's transfers, and as planned, I'm using the 2 free transfers I have to take out Richarlison for Jota. Wolves are in good form. They've got some nice fixtures coming up, and Jota actually now seems to be striker alongside Jimenez, but obviously on FPL he's a midfielder, so you kind of get more bang for your buck there, especially for his price of 6 million. I'm just double checking. Yep, still 6 million. Okay, and my second transfer, Solanke, comes in for the curious case of Kamara. I was surprised to see the young Englishman play for 60 minutes against Cardiff. However, he looked well off the pace and his game time will probably be limited when Wilson returns. However, as my second/third choice cheap player sub, I felt that he would possibly get more game time over Crouch, who amazingly came on and grabbed a penalty assist for Burnley. Son has 1 more game week and then he'll almost certainly be out for Son. However, Son does face Chelsea and Arsenal in the next few game weeks, and the original plan was Firmino out to Vardy. However, with Sane's painful double game week and an incoming blank and some tricky fixtures coming up. I just really don't want him in my team any longer. And as for the starting 11 for this game week, there's just 2 changes to the side. So new signing Jota in for Richarlison, and Johnny comes off the bench to replace Adam Smith, who scored 0 on his debut for me against Cardiff. But what can I tell you? That is my FPL luck this season. So going on to my predictions for game week 26, and let's have a look at who to avoid, pick, and take a risk on for game week 26. So for my player to avoid, I'm going to say Sane. I know this is looking like a Sane hate video, and possibly I am blinded here. However, over the last 2 games, he's been dropped, and then he was hauled off in the 59th minute, and with Mendy almost back, it could just be time up for Sane. They face a chalk and cheese Chelsea side, so we're not sure which kind of Chelsea is going to show up. But if Chelsea repeat their Arsenal away performance, then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And if Sane plays in that situation, he's got a great chance of scoring high points. However, I can't recommend a player, or at least to bring him in, that's just been dropped, subbed off early in the last game, and with doubts about the formation and with Mendy coming back, is he going to keep his place or not? Because at the moment, he's gone, in not just 2 game weeks, he's gone from one of Pep's most sure starters to being dropped and playing 59 minutes. Sticking with the same fixture, I'm going to say Chelsea, because like I've just said, the chalk and cheese, you don't know which Chelsea team is going to play. They've just thumped Huddersfield, but I don't mean any disrespect, it was Huddersfield at home. The week before that, Arsenal easily beat them, and there seems to be a weird atmosphere between Sarri and his players recently. So it's a topsy-turvy side away at City, who are dominant at home, means I would avoid Chelsea assets if I could. Plus, following this week, Chelsea will blank, and then they will play Tottenham Hotspur. Finally, I'll go for Bournemouth away at Liverpool. Now, Liverpool have not taken advantage over the last 2 game weeks, and they will really want to get back on title track at home to the Cherries. And Bournemouth have a terrible record against Liverpool, playing 14 times and only beating them once on December 4th, 2016 in a 4-3 thriller at home. My player pick of the week has to be Aubameyang. It's not tough to pick a player that plays against Huddersfield, especially when it's an Arsenal striker of his quality who has only got 1 haul over the last 4 game weeks, and he will definitely want to stake his claim for that golden boot away to the Terries. Salah is also on here for the same reason I would avoid Bournemouth. The Egyptian king has blanked the last 2 game weeks, and some have begun to again lose faith in the FPL all-time top scorer. He's been transferred out more times than he's been transferred in this week, which is a surprise because the last time that happened, scored a hat-trick against Bournemouth. My third choice this week is Raul Jimenez. Wolves have been in great form, and Jimenez goes into the Monday night fixture at home to Newcastle with 3 goals and 26 points in his last 3 game weeks, making him one of the most informed Premier League strikers over the last few game weeks, and priced an extremely reasonable 6.7 million. The player to take a risk on this week for me is the Batman Batshuayi. The new Palace signing came on for 8 minutes against Bournemouth, and he almost bagged a goal. He did get an assist, and he looked very sharp when he came on. And the fact that he'd be replacing a really constantly out of sorts Benteke makes it even more likely. This week I think he could start, and Palace have a home fixture against West Ham, who don't have the surest of defences. Bobby Reid at Cardiff is perhaps another one to look at, owned by less than 1% of managers and valued at 5.2 million. The Cardiff frontman bagged both goals in the 2-0 win at home to Bournemouth, and Cardiff are away to Southampton this game week, and they hardly ever keep clean sheets, and Cardiff beat them in the reverse fixture 1-0 earlier in the season. Finally, I'm going to say Deulofeu for Watford at home to Everton. The Spanish winger is owned by 1.8% of managers and is valued at 5.5 million. He has shown flashes of his ability to play this season, but I feel as though a home game against an out-of-form Everton side is a good time for him to score points, especially since that's the same club that he used to play for. And I always like to back players who play against former clubs where they weren't as successful as they perhaps could have been. So, for example, Richarlison playing against Watford, I backed that, and I would definitely back Deulofeu in that kind of opposite direction because he was good at Everton, but he was kind of shipped out in the end, and I think this is a kind of a revenge fixture. So that's it for a look at Game Week 26. Comment below your honourable and horrible performances from the first double game week of the season, and let me know, who do you think will be the top goal scorer of Game Week 26. And as always,